Anthony Murphy from Bucs On Deck to the show, because here is now Starbucks on deck. Anthony, what's up, my guy?
What's going on, guys? It's another great morning out here, right?
That's right. It is. See, it is a good morning.
It is. It is.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did get, so just to kick off this part of the podcast here. Last night, news broke Braxton Ashcraft got promoted from Altoona to Indianapolis, which is awesome because that Indianapolis pitching staff right now is bone dry when it comes to anybody who can help out this team. So that was pretty cool news we got last night.
Yeah, it is much deserved and belated, I guess. He's kind of shown the last couple times out there that he's more than ready for AAA or beyond kind of stuff. He's kind of grown past the AA level at this point. So it's good to see someone get a push up in the system right now, which I guess technically could open up a trickle effect, maybe potentially kind of thing. So
I don't want to ruin this. Is Ashcraft one of our four guys today or no?
No.
Okay. So before we get into the four guys, we just spent some time talking about how this team could really use some bullpen help. And Ashcraft's name gets thrown around there a lot, right? Like he's 24 years old, and you know what? Fangraphs just updated their player pages, I guess, overnight, and it's throwing me off because it's throwing me off a little bit. I got to get used to this. This is a big update for me. So
I haven't seen the player pages yet.
No, yeah.
I literally just opened it and I was like, this is different.
Oh my God. Look at the team stuff. Yeah. What the hell is this?
Yeah. So 24 years old. He's always had some like relief, like people like thinking he's going to be in relief. And I think mostly for the injury issues, being able to go out there and throw a bunch of innings. Right.
Yeah.
But what's your take on that? Like, because he looks really good as a starting pitcher. And I'm one of those people where I'm of the mindset, like, have your guys start until they show they can't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, sometimes if it's a young guy and you're in a playoff race and you need bullpen help, sometimes your top pitching prospects can come out there and do that for a little bit, right? And you see teams like the Brewers employ this strategy, I feel like, all the time, more than anybody. But they'll come up originally, they're starting pitching prospects, and they'll come out of the bullpen, right, and help a winning team with that specific issue. So, what's just your mindset on that, and then Ashcraft in particular?
So, I wrote about Ashcraft last week, and when I sat down to think about it, the first thing I thought of is, okay, Quinn Priester's out right now. They have some guys down. If you slide Ashcraft to the bullpen and something else happens to a starter, who's the next guy at that point? And I came up with, you're looking at Domingo Herman or Michael Plasmeyer or a bunch of names that, yeah. So
no,
I think Ashcraft's the most value you can get out of him right now is out of the rotation, even if that's going to be in AAA, because that gives you a guy that isn't gonna be like, oh my goodness, this guy is starting in a major league game right now, kind of stuff. And even when you think about it too, I think Ashcraft's biggest attribute, the biggest thing that he brings, is the control and command aspect on it. Like, he has like a 3.5 walk rate or something like that.
Yeah,
Incredible.
He's always really excelled at that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you think about that, he keeps the walks down. He doesn't, so he's really efficient. He's a guy that's going to be able to throw, like, he's the string of games where he's thrown like 6 or 7 innings right now is pretty impressive. The only game recently that he hasn't done it was one of a Sunday game after a Tuesday game, so they kind of cut back on the pitches anyways. So you think about it, someone that can go out there and throw 5, 6, 7 innings can do just as much in helping your bullpen for the fact that you're not going to need those guys on the, like, think about Mitch Keller. The great thing that Mitch does is, like, you can go all out with your bullpen one day because Mitch Keller is going to pitch the next day. You're not going to need your bullpen that much. Yep. Same kind of thing with Ashcraft. He's going to be he can be efficient enough to throw deeper into the game, and then that bridges straight. You could just skip over the guys that you don't want to see out there in that game. So, so like, I still think at this moment we're still in June, and then over the next couple months, I feel like there's an argument to make that, like, he probably doesn't need this time in AAA, like with the control that he's shown, and like with the stuff still playing great deeper into games. He's probably a guy that, like, if you're going to say that you're not going to have a starter again this time, that, like, maybe you line him up to at least go out there and see what you have at this point. I mean, like, it's him or Dalton Jeffries right now on the 40 man, and I think at this point, I would rather see where Braxton Ashcraft is than to see what we probably already know about Dalton Jeffries. So I think if you do decide to do the bullpen thing, the reason you make that decision with him is because this is his first full year, like, with quote less restrictions after Tommy John. And if you have an innings restriction in mind for him and you're starting to get to that, then maybe you decide that, okay, well, we're going to have you finish in the bullpen, throwing a couple innings here and there. I don't think he's the kind of guy that you want to make a drastic decision. And yes, the bullpen needs some help. Obviously needs some help. They need some guys to help bridge to the back ending guys to give him a little bit more of a break. I don't think he's the guy that you want to use that for, because then if you have another starter going down, you're talking about Domingo Germán or Michael Glassmeyer or Dalton Jeffries. You're talking about those guys starting instead. And I'd rather have Ashcraft start than those guys.
I think those are all good points.
Yeah, unfortunately, he used the rational reason. And
I think you brought up towards the end there something that may make sense though. Like, he's thrown, if he gets 4 more outs this season, he will have pitched more innings than he ever has before. 4 more outs.
Yeah.
So when you look at it like that, and this is his first full year coming off of Tommy John surgery. They took it really easy with him last year. Do they just say, okay, you know what? You're at 53 and 2/3 innings right now. Your innings, we probably don't want you throwing more than 90 this year. The best way to do that is to call you up, put you in our bullpen for the rest of the year, and give you 25 relief appearances. Like that. That's where I guess I could see them saying, all right, you know what? You're done starting for the year just because your innings are your innings.
And I know last year, not a great example because they're not at the same, like, prospect, like, status kind of thing. But last year was kind of like the same year for Aaron Shortridge, and they got him up to like 130, 140. Now, on the flip side, he's out for the season again this year. So maybe you don't want to push him to that same level, but maybe like 90 innings sounds probably maybe fair. But I could see a scenario to where maybe you push him up a tad over 100. I probably wouldn't go too much further than that. But yeah, the only at least from me now, when I'm looking at just the organization as a whole, I'm not making that switch unless it's solely for Ashcraft's benefit, as far as I want to limit the innings. And then if that's the case, I'm also, on top of maybe looking for a reliever, I'm looking for an extra starter too. Maybe if I'm going out making a trade or making a move or something like that, because when you make that kind of move there, then you're kind of thinning. Like, I know the rotation's fairly kind of set and stuff like that, but we know how pitching is. You never kind of know with pitching. So if I'm making a move to the bullpen with Ashcraft, I'm also looking for a starter too, just in case.
That makes sense.
So.
Cool.
All right. Well, that's good. I thought, bringing up Ashcraft was going to be very important today too, because I'll say this again. Like, when I saw the news last night, I was reading it by Alex Stumpf, he tweeted it out, and I thought he was going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, like, I literally tweeted, Braxton Ashcraft, you are a Pirates reliever. And then he broke that, and I was like, oh, it's happening. It's like, oh, Indianapolis. But I think what's good to know, though, not to like you stamped it, but like you're kind of alluding like he is ready for the major leagues. Like he's in Indianapolis right now, but you look at him and he's ready.
I don't see like me personally, like nitpicking. I always say like I would love to see a changeup being used more, kind of, and stuff like that. But like, I mean, he has 3 pitches right now that he can throw for strikes that are above average, borderline plus pitches, and he's found a way to make it work so far. So if you can throw strikes with three different pitches, generally that helps you have success in the majors. So even if it's not a changeup kind of thing, like I said, that me nitpicking, that's what I would like to see. But if you can make it work, you can make it work.
Right.
All right. So let's get to the 4 guys.
Okay. All right. So you guys want some hitting or some pitching first?
I'll tell you what, the people have spoken. They want some hitting, it sounds like. And I feel like this guy's going to be involved. So let's get to it.
Actually, no.
Oh, we talked about him last week.
I mean, okay, so bring up Charles McAdoo. Like, clearly, right now, he's probably from an overall perspective, he's probably the best hitting prospect that the Pirates have right now. Still doing well. Still contact, showing a little bit of power. At this point, it's kind of just like I've always said with him. I want to see him at Altoona first before I get incredibly excited about him, but like he's still done a pretty good job of getting me excited overall with what he's done so far. So I think one guy that's worth mentioning too, his teammate, and I kind of pulled up these numbers since like today's June 10th and all that, and I kind of just pulled up numbers since the beginning of June just to kind of see how they're doing month wise. Tamar Johnson's not having a bad start to the month on there. He's batting 300, it's over 600 slugging. He has 2 home runs. He's walked 5 times. Like I said, I know he dropped off of BA's top 100 list. They had like a podcast show or like a live show on YouTube, and one of them had said that a couple of scouts they had talked to seemed pretty discouraged by him and like that. I've always said me watching him, he's always kind of seemed like one step away from just kind of seeing things click. Like he's not chasing, he's drawing a lot of walks. He's making some contact with stuff. It's just like he's not squaring and barreling stuff up right now. And like I kind of just want a guy to make contact and use like someone with his supposed hitting ability to use all fields, and he's starting to go the other way more. So he's showing me a lot of little stuff. It's just now, but I can see what they're saying. Like it's like a lack of authority when he hits the ball, and we saw a lot of heightened exit velocity numbers, and he showed some power last year and stuff like that. So I just kind of feel like he was just always just one step away, and I feel like maybe he's starting to show signs of it. And so maybe I wouldn't say like, okay, well, tomorrow's back kind of thing, but I think he's heading in the right direction, because like I think if he hasn't turned 20 yet, like it's coming within the next couple of days, I believe. He has a June birthday, so and he's a 20-year-old playing in high A. So
yeah, Tamar's birthday is actually tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah.
Tomorrow is his birthday, but yeah, like you mentioned, nice start to June. Strikeouts are not, alarming, 20.7%. He's still walking a ton. The average is over 300. So, yeah, last week, that series definitely showing some signs you want to see. And I think the thing to remember about Termar, and you keep mentioning it, right, is just his age. He's still so young for where he's at. It's like I'm not concerned with him yet, and I don't think people should be. Dropping him off of a top 100 list is probably, in my opinion, a little unfair, just because of what he's doing at his age. Like the hit tool may not be what we thought it was, but the other stuff is still playing really well. Again, he's not the greatest season he's having, but he's still 21% above the average hitter in high A ball, and he's 2 years younger, 3 years younger than the average hitter in high A ball. So I think taking him off prospect lists isn't fair, but Baseball America decided to do that. It is nice to see him though this last week do a little bit more.
Well, I will say too, and that kind of reflects the whole positional value thing and stuff like that with prospects and stuff like that. There's a lot of pressure on Tamar to just hit, because when you're a second base guy, then you don't have much value when it comes to like the prospect rankings and stuff like that. So he's not hitting right now. So which is also too, like, not to get too far like sidetracked and stuff like that. I talk a lot about like the draft on Twitter and stuff like that, and my avoidance of wanting to take like a first base only kind of guy just in general, because like if they don't hit, you're not getting anything from them, kind of stuff. So and they bring up that like he's a second base. He had a couple errors in the game. Tomorrow had a couple errors. He's a second base guy, and he's a second base guy because second base is the last position you put a guy at defensively, because they don't have kind of the range or the arm and that kind of stuff to play the other positions that are more valuable defensively. So he's played some games at short, and like every now and again he'll make that's pretty nice and stuff like that. But he's a second baseman. Got it.
Okay. Who we got next?
So there's one guy down in Bradenton, and like it's a fun story to track with him. There was a point like as I was kind of like tracking things, he had the worst weighted runs created plus in all of the minors among qualified hitters, and the worst. It was a negative WRC plus, and he's a guy that like always like I watch him play, and like defensively, you could probably make a case that like right now I'll probably say Jack Brannigan is probably the best defensive shortstop in the system. You can make a very strong case that like Javier Rivas is like really close to him, if not like at the same level. Really good defensively. He hits the ball hard, but he strikes out a ton, and he hits the ball straight into the dirt the majority of the time. So not the kind of a guy that you kind of like, okay, well, like he's like the biggest like what if thing down in the lower levels. Like he'll never get out of Bradenton, but like he's fun to watch because every now and again he'll run into a ball and it'll be fun. This month he's batting 450. He's slugging 1,000. He has 3 home runs. He had 1 home run in the first 2 months of the season. He has 3 this month already. He has 6 of his 11 hits have been extra bases hit. Has gone for extra bases. He's walking a little bit, and I mean, I still think he's striking out a little bit, but like he's kind of having like the stretch right now that kind of like in the back of my head is like, man, he would be really exciting to watch if he just made a little more contact here, and he actually elevated the ball, and he's doing both of those things right now, and it's been really fun to watch. And was it Bradenton took 4 out of 6 against Clearwater, and I think like Clearwater is like far ahead of everyone else in the standings right now, except maybe like one other team. But like they've created some separation from most of the other teams right now. And the Marauders went in there and took 4 out of 6 against them, and like Rivas was like a big part of it. So like the numbers still
Rivas
look bad.
Yeah, Rivas was he was awful last year. He was terrible.
He was horrible at the beginning of the year too.
Yeah, so he was a guy who I kind of had just completely written off because of how bad last year was.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the last name didn't help. Wasn't a favorable name in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's just I mean, hot start to June is one thing. There's a little bit of a pedigree here too, right? I mean, he came out of where was he from? Dominican Republic?
I believe so, yeah.
And I think he got like a decent signing bonus. Like he wasn't just like a nobody type filler guy. Like he
I mean, he's got like, talk about like the O'Neal Cruz, like 6'7" shortstop. Like Rivas isn't that far off. Like he's a big guy for playing shortstop, and he can handle like the position like well. Like he moves really well. He has a cannon for an arm, and just like his first step to the ball is just like incredible. Like there's like no doubt in my mind, like he can play shortstop, like no matter however far up in the system he goes. And like I like this is like a hot streak or something like that. I don't think he's necessarily finally putting it all together. But forever far he gets in the system, he can handle shortstop with the best of them, I feel like. So
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it looks like he was the number 60. He was ranked as the number 60 prospect coming out that year he signed. But, well, yeah, I mean, someone to keep an eye on. A little bit of a pedigree there. Like you mentioned, like 6'6". That's not normal for a shortstop.
No. And
the power,
well too.
he is showing some more power this year, which is good to see because he didn't really have any last year.
Yeah, the exit velocity numbers had always been like okay with him. It's just like he would beat everything into the dirt. Like nothing was elevated. So it's kind of like you just overlook it because like it doesn't look like he has any power and it doesn't translate into the game kind of thing. But like he can hit the ball fairly hard, and now it's just getting up a little bit, and like he's having some success right now. So
he's got two. He's Rule 5 eligible. So you know he's really long. He's got some work to do. Let's just say that.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. Like he's way down there. He's gonna be the kind of guys that like I like the deep end like prospect guys get excited about every now and again. But like long term, like I wouldn't expect too much kind of thing. So
got it. All right. Well, how about pitching? What are we seeing on the mound these days?
So pitching wise, so Bubba Chandler had a pretty good week. He his game he had the Tuesday Sunday games. They obviously he's just coming back, so he only pitched 3 innings on Sunday. But I'm not going to say the Saturday game was the best I've ever seen him, but it was probably up there with just overall how he looked. He was throwing strikes, didn't walk anybody, struck out 5 over 5. The only run that he allowed was, I think it was like a runner got on from catcher's interference or something like that, and then he ended up scoring. Just looked really controlled, got up to 97, 98 with the fastball. Showed it looked like a little bit of a cutter against righties, which looked really good. Got some swings and misses with it. I think that's the biggest thing that from Bubba that I've been wanting to see is like a secondary pitch to go against righties more often. That to have a little more success with. Like he's got the fastball. He blow the fastball by anybody. Has elite movement and stuff like that. The changeup is really good against lefties. So like lefties are handled. I just wanted a more consistent and like the slider and breaking ball, whatever you want to call them, like that. It has its moments. I just think that like the shape isn't overall great. So maybe it's not going to have the bite that you would want to kind of be like a wipeout pitch. So him showing like a cutter, like maybe up in the zone a little bit more, maybe will help with that down the road. Now that's kind of like 2 different looks off the plate against the righties now. So, but for where he was kind of at like a month ago with the control and stuff like that, he's come a long way very quickly. It feels like.
So. Yeah, it looks like this week, like I said, you mentioned the 2 starts. He went 8 innings total, struck out 7, didn't walk a batter. So those were his first
the runs
2.
He allowed was unearned.
Yeah, and those were the first 2 outings he's had this year where he had 0 walks. So, yeah, 3 unearned runs given up this week, no walks, 8 hits, 8 innings, 0 run. Yeah, so 0 ERA. Yeah, I mean, you just want to kind of see him just keep stacking good outings there in Double-A.
Yeah.
I think he strikes me as someone who's probably going to be at that level all season. Like, I don't think there's a reason to really rush him. But yeah, you want to see him definitely hone in on his command a little bit and demonstrate that he can go deep into games.
Yeah. The only way that like obviously he threw over 100 innings last year, but you're still probably watching how many innings he throws. Usually Indianapolis has an extra like 2 weeks of season after Altoona. So I think the only way you kind of see him anywhere other than Altoona is if he's still in a good place innings wise, and maybe you want to throw him up in Indianapolis maybe give him like what looks to be like an opener kind of thing, like throw him in there for the first like inning or two or something like that, just to kind of get a taste for it. But other than that, I don't think there's any kind of rush to see him anywhere but Altoona this year. Let him kind of just keep working on the stuff. And said something's worked this week. Something's been working since he's been back from the injured list. So just see if he could just kind of continue it.
Yeah, I can see that too. That's a good point. They seem to like want to give him that little taste of Indy before they go up the following year.
Yeah. And dude, like if he's done really well with the innings, might as well. Like if you still have some innings to give, there's no reason not to just. If there's a chance to get him to exactly where you kind of wanted him to be at innings wise, and you have the opportunity to do it, might as well, even if it's like out of the bullpen or very like short outings at the beginning of the game kind of thing.
So. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So good week out of Bubba. Who's our last guy?
Another Altoona pitcher. Ho-Yu Chen. He is someone that I've never been overly high on.
I was gonna say that's the first time I've heard that name in a while.
Yeah, he's not. He got off to a really bad start. He had like a ERA like nearly 8 in April, right around 5 in May. 2 starts this month, just 2 earned runs over 14 innings, struck out 14. He pitched 8 innings on Thursday, Friday. One of Woodard's last start was in Richmond. 8 innings, 9 strikeouts, only allowed 1 run. So he's more, he's like one of the crafty stuff junk kind of thrower things. He throws like 5-6 different pitches. Fastball isn't going to blow by anybody. If he's not locating like the curve and like the slider and stuff like that, he'll probably get around. The splitter's a really good pitch. He has a really good splitter. Just because of the not great fastball, lack of command really of it. The curveball is really big and loopy, so sometimes he struggles to throw it for strikes and stuff like that. Just kind of, if it's not on, he gets beat up really bad kind of stuff. So just not an overwhelming kind of guy. But I think someone brought it up on Twitter. Like he got off to a pretty slow start last year in Greensboro, and then he finished pretty strong overall. So like maybe he's just kind of a slow starter kind of thing. But like I said, I've just never really been high on him too much.
Yeah, the splitter is certainly interesting with him because it is a really good pitch. And yeah, he started off terribly. I feel like he was somewhat heralded, when he first came over here, but really just kind of struggled.
He got a pretty good bonus when he signed, and there was a lot of talk about him and stuff like that. And like when he started his pro career, he went straight to the complex and like he pitched like 30 some innings or something like that, and then didn't walk anybody.
Yeah.
So the command control was really good. He made a quick little jump up to Bradenton that first year, and he got beat up pretty rough. But like I think a lot of pitchers struggle when they first make that jump, because the ABS, it's a different strike zone. You got to kind of learn that kind of stuff there. So. And then he spent the following year all in Bradenton. Like he's always a guy that pitches well, but just never enough really to maybe get that kind of momentum to maybe be that kind of guy at like the highest level kind of thing. So.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, good. He's at back-to-back starts where he's given up just 1 run in Altoona. So he definitely started the season off. It was a rough start for him, but seems to be kind of settling in a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool stuff, though.
Yeah. Thanks, Murphy.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Murphy, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, get Ashcraft up here.
I mean, I did what I could. I wrote about him. Me and Nola talked about him on the podcast last week. I mean, we've been hyping the guy up.
You did your job. You did your job.
I did what I had to do.
That's it. Well, as always, definitely appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. Of course.
And so plug your stuff again for us. Where do we find it?
Bucs On Deck Substack. Go and subscribe. Like I said, I think I mentioned in the last week, we're going to have our midseason updated rankings released at some point this week. They're ready. I just don't know which day I'm going to release them. Go take a look. There's some pretty nice pretty drastic changes on some, not too drastic on it in a couple months, but should be some interesting movement with that within the system. So be on the lookout for those.
All right. Well, Murphy, we'll see you next week. Talk some more. Hopefully, some really good stuff again.
All right. Sounds good.